Hi, everyone. It's Laurie Rich, Communications Director for Modern Widows Club. I'm so excited to be able to speak this morning with Dr. Jean Miller. She's the chair of the Modern Widows Club Research Committee, and I'm going to bring her on now.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, Jean. Thank you for joining us for International Widows Day. I'm so happy that you're here. Can you please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself?
Thank you. Yes. In addition to being the chair of the research committee, I'm also a licensed professional counselor in Colorado and an educator and a researcher. And I am a widow as of about not even 2.5 years yet. So I want to thank you for having me on today. It's an honor to be here today.
It's great to talk to you. We're here to chat about our Widow Empowerment Quiz, which is available on our website at modernwidowsclub.org. And can I ask you to share about the history and purpose of the quiz?
Sure, absolutely. So the first quiz was created about a little bit over 1.5 years ago by our headquarters team and also by Jordan Harold, who is one of the founding members of our research committee. And it was really created to help identify which stage of widowhood that we are in. And it helps widows determine really where they are on the path of widowhood.
And is there anything you can tell us about why it's important to understand why you're on the path?
Absolutely. You know, it's important so that we can normalize really the experience that we're going through, which is very different for each one of us. We can then know what we need to seek as far as support and resources. So this path that has been created is really, it's a pathway, and the different stages of it are hope, heal, grow, and lead. And it really helps us as an organization to assess where widows are on this pathway to best support their needs and to best create programming around that.
That's beautiful. Why was the quiz updated?
You know, it like any kind of positive research, we analyzed the data and we determined that the previous version had some gaps in it. And as a researcher, I know that that's the key to good research, is really identifying where the gaps are that need to be studied. And we wanted to really better fill in those gaps so that we can better assess the widowhood experience and the needs of our widows.
That's great. And so when a widow takes the quiz, what does Modern Widows Club do with that data?
You know, that's a great question. It really helps the organization answer the questions that we didn't really even know about widowhood. And it informs the decisions that we make about moving forward, about what's needed to best support our members.
That's great. Speaking of the Hope You'll Grow and Lead scatter plot, I'm going to share that if my computer will let me. Here we go. And I'm going to check. Hopefully everyone can see that. I'm going to take you and me off of the screen. So
It helps us to know really where are the needs for the programs and services. And it also has helped us to define and understand these 4 phases of widowhood, this pathway called grief to growth. The pathway was developed really based on the experiential differences that we have as widows. It may be things like the amount of time since our loss or our own pace in grieving and in growing. And past research, past grief, theory has looked at research along the lines of measuring in time, how long have you been widowed, the years as a measure. But we've determined really that it's more of a pathway, a new way to measure progress and healing from grief to growth. And it really helps us to meet widows right where we are, offering exactly what their needs might be to best support them.
So once a widow takes the quiz and is able to kind of determine where they are on this Hope, Heal, Grow, and Lead pathway, what what's next for them? What's available for them? What does this let them do or know that they should do?
Well, all of the assessing that we do, all of the data that we gather from the Widows Empowerment Quiz and other types of surveys that we have or will also be introducing, it helps us. If I'm the widow filling it out, it really lets my voice be heard, and it tells us as an organization what weight do the widows' voices carry. For example, since no one else is doing this type of research, we're the only ones that are doing it. And so we really need to gather this information from the survey to determine, for example, if someone is in the hope phase versus the heal phase, what kinds of programming can best support them, or what do they need to help them along that journey. And it also gives us an opportunity to listen to the voice of our members and to then maybe make some changes. Maybe some of the things we are doing aren't as effective, or maybe we're seeing a need because of a certain demographic for a different type of a program or a different type of a support system. And so it's a place for the members, me being one of them, you being one of them as well, to really give feedback and to inform the programming and inform the work that we do moving forward.
Is there any examples that you could share of change that could actually be affected by this data? What kind of change could this research create for widows?
That's a great question. I look at it in two ways. I look at it both internally within the organization and then also externally, the bigger picture of the work and the advocacy that our founder, Carolyn, is doing and that we're looking at as an organization. Internally, I've said it a few times, but maybe there's a need for a different kind of a program, a different kind of a club, in addition to, the book club and the art club and travel club and some of the things that we currently have. So internally, it's going to help us determine our path moving forward and to really assess the programming. Externally, the research that we're doing, because like we talked about earlier, no one else is doing it. It's been amazing to us as an organization, to me as a researcher, that no one is doing research on widows when it's really such a common occurrence, and also a women's health and a women's mental health issue overall. And so the changes that we look at from a research standpoint, it can help to increase visibility, to increase advocacy efforts, and also to help us to obtain funding, obtain grants. The more that we publish, for example, in academic journals or externally, the more visibility we create for the organization, which is really going to help us overall help people in general, both in the organization and externally, just the face of widowhood and the advocacy efforts.
That's great. And so not only does the quiz help Modern Widows Club itself with being able to understand where the need is for the programs and services, but could have actual impact in the world somewhere, as us, we widows, being some of the least researched demographic. How does the research data help us better understand the demographics of the widows who come to us? I know we've already shared the Hope, Heal, Grow, and Lead scatter plot, but specifically, have there been any data or surprises that you have found there? Anything that you weren't sure about that you learned?
We're still there. We're still really exploring once the new survey comes back, and hopefully as many members as possible, as many Wisters as possible will complete it. We're learning from that. We are seeing that there are differences in the needs, for example, demographics. The age at which you were widowed makes a difference in what your needs might be. How long it's been since your loss, that makes a difference in what kind of programming we might need to offer. Parenting is another example. Parenting young children after a loss is incredibly different than parenting adult children, or kids that have been impacted as young adults through loss of a father or someone in their life. So it really has been helping us to determine, are we offering what is really needed out there? One of the most recent things we've discovered, which has been interesting and exciting, and we're trying to figure out where to go with it now, from the current research is, you know, the impacts on the daily living, occupational therapy, for example, the things that we all struggle with after widowhood, simple things maybe like cooking meals or taking care of our children or figuring out finances, things we might not have had to do before in the same way when we were with our spouse. So it's a long answer to a short question, but the demographics and knowing where people are coming from, what their needs are, is only going to help us to expand the organization and expand the support.
That's really exciting to me. You know, I think back to before I came to Modern Widows Club, nobody ever asked me anything
Right.
about my widowhood experience. I was widowed for a while before I found MWC. So just thinking about it from the perspective of an organization that truly cares, is out there looking to develop the research because it doesn't exist anyplace else, is really mind expanding for me. And I think back to the fact that, so much research is not done about widowhood. Internally at MWC, sometimes when we try to locate research data about widows, it just doesn't exist. So
Right.
I'm
Right.
grateful for you being here to help make this happen.
Thank you. As disappointing as that is to hear that it doesn't exist, and as shocking, really, as a researcher and someone who has worked in social sciences, it gives us an awful lot to work with. So I don't want to say it's exciting because that doesn't sound right, but it really opens the door to the research that we can do and the data that we can collect to really help people on a number of different levels. And one of the important things to me in leading this research committee, because I know when many people hear research, especially those outside of higher education or the research world, the eyes can glaze over and it sounds, what's the point of this? So really what I'd like to do with our research committee and inviting different people to join that committee is to make it more accessible and present research in a way, present what we're doing in the organization in a way that makes sense to the average person who doesn't want to hear about research. So what are we collecting? What are we doing with it? And how can it really benefit you as a widow, the organization overall, and then, as we said, the higher level of, nationally and internationally, actually. So we're trying to frame it in a way that when someone fills out the survey, they know really what we're going to do with it and how valuable that data is. And it's not just for publishing in journals or the academic research, but it's also to really impact change in the organization.
That's great. And this brings to mind, there's so much conversation, and rightly so, about data safety, protection, privacy, and security. And
Yes.
Can you share a little bit about that with MWC?
Absolutely. And I see things in the chat. I'm trying to not get distracted there. So I'm happy to hear that people are interested.
Yes.
Yes. So please, I'll put a call out here. Please fill out the survey. It will not take an awful lot of time to do it. Your responses are always confidential. We don't share any personal data. People are asking where to get the survey. So I'll let you on that. But it is absolutely confidential, and the data that we keep stays with us, stays within the organization. And so it's really a win-win for everybody.
That's wonderful. And I'm glad that you mentioned about the chat, because of what I'm seeing on my screen and controlling this. I don't know what asking. And so it is available on our website. If you go to modernwidowsclub.org, you can take the survey. You'll see it right there on the home page. And I can also share the link here right on our screen. So you should see it pop in here, modernwidowsclub.org/empowerment quiz. But again, just go to the home page, scroll down just a little bit, take the quiz. And not only does it help Modern Widows Club, but it truly is an effective tool. I've done it myself a couple of times, and you have too. That's great. And, widows can take the quiz as many times as they'd like. And what would the benefit of that be, Jean?
As many times as they'd like. Well, from a selfish standpoint, it's more data for us. So, but really, as many times as they'd like, things change, right? Things change in our experience and where we are on our healing and our process overall, our healing journey. So the more information that we can gather, and the more that our widows are willing to share, it again can really just benefit us in so many ways when it comes to program enhancement and really organization overall, being able to do more.
That's great. And I know for myself, the reason that I've taken it multiple times is it is a way for me to gauge my own forward momentum.
Good point. Yeah.
My experience is, and I know is I think true for many widows, is you can't always gauge the progress that you're making. It's just it can feel so slow at times. So when you can do a stake in the ground and do something like this, it can really help you look back and see the ways that you have made progress and the ways that that there is hope. There is a future.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. And even just the pathway itself, I think just looking at what are the differences between hope, the early stage, healing, moving along in your journey, growing, and then leading, and just to be able to see, well, wow, where am I at 2 years? Where am I in this? And is it okay to still feel, some of the early stages, some of those experiences while I'm also maybe healing and growing? And stepping into a leadership role here, by no means do I feel like I'm completely at the end of the pathway where I'm completely healed. That doesn't make sense anyway, right? But so it's a good way for us to gauge where we are on this journey, and again, what we might need and how we can best support ourselves and support our families.
Absolutely. And in terms of the specific support system that Modern Widows Club has for widows at the various stages, I can speak to that. We actually have a lot of great programs. We have support groups, we have clubs, we have book club, travel club. It's kind of like wherever you are along that pathway, we want to be able to be here for you and have something for you. So as you said, you maybe when you take the quiz, you identify in some ways as being in the grow stage, but we also know as widows that it's not the path isn't linear. And in fact, we can jump back and forth, right? So
Right.
the support services are here to support you at whatever stage you're at, and as you move back and forth between them. So I do encourage anyone who is not familiar with Modern Widows Club, please visit our website. We have just a wonderful group of resources there for you. We would love for you to explore, find out what we offer. And again, please do take the quiz. And so, Jean, I want to thank you so much for being here with me today and sharing your wisdom and knowledge, and also to thank you for the great work that you're doing on behalf of widows, because what you're doing truly matters. It really makes a difference. And I love the vision of not only with this quiz helping me individually as a widow, but to hear what it could actually mean and hopefully will mean in the bigger sense, the bigger picture part of it. So
thank you. It's an honor. Thank you so much for asking me here. I've said to everyone in the organization, Modern Widows Club is a lifesaver. I personally, it's been just a lifeline for me, and it's just an incredible organization. So it means a lot to me, and I'm thrilled that I can tie in the personal experience with my professional background to hopefully help others. So thank you.
Thank you, Jean. So happy that you're here. And everybody, I want to let you know that I will also drop the link to the quiz in the chat and in the comments afterwards. So if you didn't catch it from the screen here, modernwidowsclub.org/empowerment quiz, I'll drop it in the comments, or again, just visit our main homepage, modernwidowsclub.org. And thank you so much for being here with me and Dr. Miller, and I will see you again soon.